welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So let's talk to the people coming to Washington for the Tea Party demonstration. First of all, I sympathize with many of the goals of this, and certainly by coming out on April 15th and by going to those town halls, people have done an important public service. Anybody who is opposing Obama's genocidal plans for euthanasia and for the destruction of Medicare is doing a public service. And given the bankruptcy of both political parties, and I stress of both, of the elected officials of both political parties, it is indispensable for such people to come forward. Therefore, I'm not going to join in the attempted demonization of such people. Far from it. I warmly welcome what they're doing. Here's the word of warning, though. You look at somebody like Dick Armey. This is now the Svengali, right, the demiurge who's running the entire organizational side of this March on Washington, right, which has now become a taxpayer March on Washington. You're not anymore somebody who might need health care. You're not somebody who might be getting foreclosed on. You're not anybody who's unemployed. None of that. No. You're a taxpayer. So this already creates a certain mindset. And, of course, the average person is all of those things. But why pick out one? Why not make it economic issues in general? Well, Dick Armey, he's the head of FreedomWorks, and he's typical of these Republican hacks, Republican retreads, whose criminal activities back in the 1990s were legion. He was, of course, the right-hand man of Newt Gingrich. Now, Dick Armey was a professor at a small college in North Texas, and he is an Austrian ideologue. He is a lunatic, free market blatherer. This is somebody who believes there should be no minimum wage. The minimum wage is communism. That unemployment insurance is also communism. There shouldn't be any. There should be no Social Security. That's communism for Dick Armey. It should be privatized and looted by Wall Street financial interests so you could get a wonderful chance on the stock market, and you've seen where that gotten you over the past 10 years or more. There should be no Medicare, according to Dick Armey. Dick Armey wants to get himself out of Medicare, and he wants to get you out of it, too, because he wants to get all that money into the hands of private insurers. Therefore, to accept the leadership of somebody like Dick Armey poses tremendous problems. And I'll point to one thing in particular. Obama gave his demagogic health care speech this week, and basically nothing new came out of it. He is now confirmed in public as a supporter of the Mitt Romney Massachusetts plan, which is that you will be forced, there will be a mandate on individuals to buy health insurance, and you will have to buy it from a for-profit, deregulated private insurance company with executives who get huge bonuses. They spend huge amounts of money on lobbying, advertising. Their administrative costs are sky high, and you will be forced to pay them. And, of course, their derivatives losses are also sky high, so high that they have, in effect, bankrupted many of these companies, and they're holding themselves together with various loans from the TARP and the Fed to try to bridge the time until they can start getting your money under the individual mandate. That's basically what Obama wants. He gave up Medicare for all, never said it, gave up single payer. He's now given up this government option, government plan, whatever that was. So we're on the track for the Massachusetts plan. The most sinister aspect of Obama, where the death boards and the death panels really come in, is the $500 billion to $600 billion in cuts to Medicare. A lot of the people who came out, especially in the August town halls, to attempt to protest against the activities of Democratic members of the House and Senate in particular, a lot of the people who came out were there because they want to keep their Medicare. They believe in New Deal and Great Society institutions. They're saying, in effect, get your Wall Street hands off my Medicare. That's my economic right, recognized under the New Deal and the Great Society, and I don't want you to loot it. I don't want you to privatize it. Now, of course, because of the media coverage, which gave preferential treatment to the right-wing loudmouth ideologues, the Austrians and Chicago boys that were seeded into the crowds by various think tanks, the Heartland Institute, the forces of Richard Mellon Scaife, and indeed this Freedom Works of Dick Armey. A lot of people are not aware that the large numbers that came out for these summer town halls were there to defend Medicare. Now, what do Newt Gingrich and Dick Armey think about Medicare? Dick Armey thinks that there should be no Medicare whatsoever. You should have no economic right. You have no right to health insurance. You should have a right to take your chances in the free market, and if you die, well, you can console yourself that you died for the free market. That's Dick Armey. Remember also, Gingrich, in a very interesting tape, which is beyond question, said, as far as Medicare is concerned, we will let it wither on the vine. Now, with that kind of leadership, you can see what kind of rotten compromise is coming. It is what we've talked about in previous broadcasts. The Republicans will be ready to compromise with Obama with targeted cuts in Medicare. We've got all kinds of Republicans, including Karl Rove, who have now discovered their love for Medicare, which is purely tactical. They want to destroy Medicare. Bush tried to destroy Social Security. Every Republican reactionary, without exception, is in favor of that. That's the program of the party. You can't get into it without that. So now the attempt, and this is what was done by the Democrats to the peace movement and so forth, is now that these Republican demagogues are attempting to place themselves in the leadership of the Tea Party movement with this National Tea Party control group. And you've heard from Phil Berg that they don't want to have any authentic spokespersons for the anti-Obama resistance. They want it to all be Republican hacks, Republican retreads. The main speaker at this rally will be Dick Armey. And I would say go there, sure, go there, but introduce the element of reality. Protect Medicare from Obama's cuts. Stop Obama's $500 billion cuts in Medicare. Defend Medicare. Defend your economic rights, and hopefully at some future point you could go to Medicare for all who want it, paid for by a Tobin tax. We've even got Newt Gingrich has now discovered that scientific research is the way to realize savings. He says that he and his study group have found that the U.S. Expenses for Alzheimer's over the coming couple of decades will be about $20 trillion. So if you could find a cure for Alzheimer's, you could save $10 to $20 trillion. That's wonderful, Newt, but you're never going to do that because you're going to insist on pumping the money into various predatory Wall Street interests who take it all and leave us with nothing. So this is the main problem of the Tea Party demonstration occurring tomorrow. I think it's fine to demonstrate. I'm all for it. And remember, it will take a mass mobilization to introduce gridlock. The only thing we can hope for in this terrible situation where we've got reactionary Republicans confronting the Obama fascist corporate state. You can choose between the most extreme reaction and a somewhat mild form of the Mussolini approach, right? Corporate state. The only thing we can hope for is gridlock. That is to say, the paralysis of all of this. People have said if Obama's bill gets through the Senate, meaning if Obama presents a bill with no public option, he can get it through the Senate, but if it doesn't have a public option, he can't get it through the House. Good. Let's hope that there is no bill, and in particular, no rotten compromise between the Republicans and the Democrats against us and against our rights under the New Deal. No looting of Medicare. No $500 to $600 billion of cuts in Medicare. Stop them in their tracks. Gridlock, paralysis, that's the best you can hope for.